Hey everybody, welcome to it. We are going to attempt to try to demystify some regular expressions for you. It's probably the least used filter, I'd say.
I think it's the scariest because, it's powerful, but it's complex. So, again, for me, I've got to bust out the notes here so that I can actually do them and then test them and that. So,
I've had this book for a while. It's the O'Reilly Pocket reference.
I was looking for that this morning, actually.
It's always in my office.
Is it?
Yeah, but it's just regular expressions. They also have a much larger. O'Reilly has a great reference manual for it. But what we're really going to focus on are how regular expressions can be used in inventory. So that's really a
SQL filters of sorts.
In a way, I mean, yeah, they're not SQL, but it is a way to use in your reports. And keep in mind, when we say reports, we're talking about basic reports. You can't use these regular expressions in your SQL reports.
Yeah.
SQLite does support it as long as you have the necessary hooks and libraries, which we don't have anyway.
Yeah.
So we're gonna cover some of those. Yes. Well, let's just jump right in. Yeah. Why not? I'm just going to go to let's create a new report here.
Now, I'm pretty sure that I sent the guys some links to some of the places I go for my cheat sheets for regular expression. I think that's in the bonus content. Again, it's one of those things when I sit down to do regular expressions, it takes about 10 minutes and then I can do it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I have to keep following along to make sure that, okay, yep, and then it clicks. And I'm
Gotcha. Well, if you want to do be able to do some quick tests on regular expression without having to try to commit here to, well, let's show this.
Okay.
We're gonna now keep in mind some of these filters that we use or these comparisons. We're gonna use some regular expressions, but doesn't mean you have to use regular expressions.
Yeah.
We're just trying to
give you examples.
Yeah, give you some examples. Maybe we're gonna build a report that shows the computer name, the application name. We'll do the application version. How's that look?
Oh.
And just regex stuff. Okay.
Now, a lot of times, like if you're looking for version numbers, that's a good place because you got to parse through to get the last part of it.
Perhaps, yeah.
Yeah.
The comparisons for version are pretty good.
The ones here are.
Yeah,
definitely.
really, what it comes down to, a lot of the names of applications are where that will come in. But let's do a filter here. We'll do a new value filter. And obviously, you might do an application name starts with Mozilla Firefox, right? You could do the starts with. But if you want to do a regular expression, you have pattern and expression. Patterns are really just watered down wildcard. They're just wildcards.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about expression. So matches expression, instead of doing a starts with Microsoft or Mozilla Firefox, one thing to know is the caret. The caret means the beginning of a line. So you could say anything that begins with Mozilla, run that. There we have a handful that are returned. So that's very similar to the starts with, right?
Yeah.
But then you could do Firefox. If you don't want, another thing to remember is the dot. Okay, and the dot is a wild card. Effectively, it just means any space, anything but a new line. It's a character, it's a digit, or it's a space. Did you want to add in?
Yeah, I think it means 0 or more characters.
Close.
The plus is
the zero.
one or more.
The 0 or more is the splat.
Yeah.
So a dot means match.
One character. You're right.
You have to have at least one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
No problem. See, once again, I love this because when it comes to regular expressions, even people that have, like Adam, who's used them for years and years, you see him have to kind of think about it for a moment and get into the zone of thinking about regular expressions. It's like when you're designing subnets and you have to kind of think in binary, and it, for me at least, it takes a little bit to.
That's that transition I was talking about. It's kind of like when Chris speaks English and Japanese. It's like just boom. Now he's in Japanese. It's kind of interesting.
He's just illiterate in 2 languages. Okay, so a dot means matching anything. A splat means 0 or more of whatever you preceded that. In this case, anything. A plus is 1 or more. So we'll say this would capture Mozilla Thunderbird, Mozilla Firefox, whatever. Let me see how this just runs real quick. Let's see if we can
Clarify
show.
the dot excludes the line break. It's the only exception to that.
Yeah, thank you, the line break. So let's do this. Let's look for, you want to look for anything that, in this case, we'll look for EN for English, but maybe you have DE for Deutsch in there, okay? And you want to just kind of nail that down. We'll say Mozilla dot plus, so it's got to have at least a space or something after the Mozilla. And then you could just do EN dot plus should do it, because there might be something after EN. There most likely will be. Sure enough, those capture. But if we do a dash DE, once again for Deutsch or whatever, it shouldn't match anything. All right.
Now, if you pop that back up, I want to just discuss those special characters.
Yes.
So
so let's you want to look for like x86?
yeah.
Okay. So we're going to do EN. Let's once again make sure that we're getting it so far. There it is. But now we're going to do anything that, well, we'll do x64 since we don't have x86 here. We'll just do anything that begins with open paren x64.
Now, the thing about that open parentheses, that parentheses is a special character. So you've got to have an escape character so it knows to look for that as an actual character, not to process it.
Thank you. So we'll show you how to escape those characters. Yes, the dot, the plus, the splat. If you need to evaluate those as literals, you have to escape them.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, those are special characters, and they're modifiers.
They get processed as how do I find this as opposed to look for this.
So we're going to look for anything. We don't notice how Firefox has the version in there, and that version can be changing throughout all your different computers. So you don't want to try to hard code that version in there. That's where regular expressions are excellent for that. We're just going to skip through. We'll lose the en dot plus. But if we want to do a parenthesis or an open paren, remember that's a special character. So you're going to actually have to escape it. The escape is a backslash. So when you do a backslash, whatever follows that is going to be processed as a literal. So now we'll do, what is it, a x64?
x64, yeah.
Okay. Run that.
Shane, I noticed you put a dot and a plus on there. Can you just slam a plus in there? Or does that dot necessary?
No, because the plus, let's show you that. Oh, good. We actually are evaluating that properly. The plus just basically means whatever precedes it is happens one or more times.
Okay.
So it is good practice to use a dot if you want to keep going on to the end. Now, you've probably used the ends with, right? We'll run this again. I know we're just keep on running this. So we showed you the caret begins with, is a way of saying that the line begins with this whatever. In this case, an M for Mozilla. Here we want to say it ends with a backslash or a close paren. Okay. We could say x64 dot plus, so anything up to a final backslash, and then a $sign. $sign is the line ends.
So pretty much everything.
Yeah,
everything
it doesn't include a character turn or a line. It's basically the last space, digit or letter.
See, I always remember that everything comes down to money at the end of it.
Everything. I like that.
Everything comes down to money.
Everything comes down to money.
Does that mean everything begins with a caret?
Yes.
Carrots and money?
Well, remember, it's the caret. People say, I'm going to dangle the carrot, so there you go, maybe.
Starts with the carrot, ends with the money.
If you ever have to look for something that has a literal caret character, you need to escape that, and then it loses its special meaning in its process as a literal. So this is an example. Now, if you go down to Microsoft Office, we have a Microsoft Office. It's a built-in collection with a bunch of sub-collections. We use regular expressions in here. Let's open up to 2013. I'm going to open this, and notice we've got this matches expression. And what are we showing here? Let me just
so if you think about it, right, you have Microsoft Office Visio, you have Microsoft Office PowerPoint, SharePoint, all these things that come after Office.
Yes.
Right? But we're looking for the Office suite at this point.
What we're looking for is anything that has Microsoft Office in the application name. That's where you can see this. Oh, by the way, regular expressions, depending on where you are, regular expressions are often case sensitive. When you're using them in our filters, we remove the case.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why we have a lowercase m and a lowercase o for Microsoft Office. I'll show you where you can get tripped up on that a little later. What we want to show is anything that begins with Microsoft and Office, or in this case we didn't do it with the Caret, anything that contains Microsoft Office, and it ends with 2013. So this tells us it's the 2013 version of Office. However, there are some things in there that we don't want to capture. For example, notice there might be a Microsoft Office Web Components 2013, and you don't want to have that show up as a version of Microsoft Office. What happens then is you have to do an exclusion, and this is called what's known as a negative lookahead. So that is a negative lookahead. It begins with an open param, and then a question mark. The question mark means we're gonna look somewhere. An exclamation point means it's negative. So a question mark equals means it's a positive, meaning it would have to contain this somewhere ahead of this. And a negative means it can't. So we don't want web components. We don't want Microsoft Office Word Viewer or Excel Viewer or something like that. So here we're doing, a dot splat, meaning anything that has viewer anywhere before 2013 and after Microsoft.
No, that exclamation point is the not at that
That's
point.
the negative. That means a negative look ahead, so it just can't contain this. And this is how we are able to say we're confident that this represents an application of Microsoft Office, excluding like maybe the SharePoint or the validation. You can see those that we've kind of learned through the years. Sometimes we'd have a customer say, "Hey, I'm showing this as Microsoft Office, and it says connector in there, and it's not a real Office license." So we would just say, "Okay, we'll add that, but in the meantime, you can add it just by copying and pasting one of these others and removing it."
So if we wanted to, let's say, exclude Word, we could just do a question mark splat, or it's not splat, bang, period, Word with an.
And then if it contained Word, it would be kicked out.
Okay.
Absolutely. So one thing you can do, we're going to grab. Do we have any Office? Maybe we don't. Maybe we don't.
I don't think we do.
I don't think we do either.
Nope.
And we don't have any Office.
Lab. We need to load Office in a lab someday.
There's a website I like. It's called regxtester.com.
Okay.
I changed this. I'm not doing JavaScript. I changed this to PCRE. And this is where you could actually put in, you'd probably go out, copy
paste
from an application. But yeah, Microsoft Office Professional 2013. Okay. And then we can just copy this regular expression, or you can just build it as you go, but we'll copy this.
Oh, yeah. That's what happens when I help.
Boom, boom, boom. No worries, man. Perfect. So you can see that it highlighted that. That means this did, in fact, work. All right.
If you write viewer in there, professional, or just take professional and write viewer in here.
You're going to exclude. So let's say that we wanted to exclude professional. So we put a negative look ahead and just said it's got to be Microsoft Office somewhere in the string and then 2013. But between those two, it can't have professional. Notice how it no longer matches professional. Just so you know, the regex tester is case sensitive. So if you, I'll remove professional there. I can't remember. I think it was viewer. If you end up putting uppercase there, notice it's not going to find it because in this particular, with this tool, it is case sensitive. Yeah. But for ours, it's
you
not.
can make it case insensitive by putting I at the end, correct?
Is that the modifier for it?
I believe so. Yeah. So you've got the.
I can't remember.
G, which matches.
Because we've been case insensitive for so long, I don't remember.
Right.
Look it up.
Just don't do it.
Anyway, so this is a good way to get you started, right? So a couple of other things. Let me just remove the regular expression here. So let's say you wanted to look for Microsoft and then 123.456. Some things you could do to capture this. Number one, you don't even have to look for Microsoft. If you wanted, you can do a /D. That means it's a digit. It's going to be
numbers.
Yeah. So notice how it captured all the digits in there, right? If you did a begins with it, in this case, if you did a begins with any number, this string does not match that because it doesn't begin with it. It does, however, begin with Microsoft. So it now captures that.
Take that period out and see what happens. Just a plus. Okay. So in that case,
This guy, once again, we've modified a little bit. So this is technically saying you have to have another T because it's whatever precedes it has to happen one or more times.
one or more times. So a dot could be anything. Or
So dot is anything. That's kind of how you want to do that, and then
plus for any length. Okay.
dot plus. So at any length. Play along with this. You know. Now, /D is a digit. A /uppercase D is
Capital numbers.
yes.
That's for Chris.
What a capital idea. Good sir.
Since we are so an uppercase D means it's going to it's a non-digit. So notice it went up to that dot.
Okay.
Right. It grabbed up Microsoft and anything space or whatever up to that non-digit, which was the dot. So it cuts out those last three. Anyway, you'll probably rarely use that. It is common to use the /D. If you want to say, I want to look for anything that has Microsoft and then a D, but only capture, there has to be 3 digits in a row, you can do the curly bracket, and it will say just 3 or 2. If you say 2, it'll grab just those 2.
Is it the curly or is it just parentheses?
Huh?
I think it's just parentheses.
No, it's curly.
Is it? Are you sure?
The curly.
Okay.
The curly means you're going to do the curly brackets mean whatever you specified before. You're going to specify kind of a range.
Okay, so
All
I'll
right.
find any of the
Yeah.
three. Okay.
And keep in mind, this is what you're doing on the regex tester, which Dan's Tools. Thank you very much for offering this. It's not. There might be some differences when you're talking about inventory.
Yeah, or PowerShell or command line or they're all just the flavors are just a little bit different. So
Another common one though is the OR. I want to show you this one. Okay, so you could say.
what do you got, Chris? While he's popping the OR up.
Yeah, I think Jason Noon here pointed out that you can change the flag for the sensitivity, the case sensitivity. Just there's a button called flags on your little testing website. So just right above where it says no match,
Right there.
you can change it to case sensitive or insensitive via that flag.
Okay.
Just so that people know.
I like it. So we'll do anything. Now let's say you want to look for anything that begins with Microsoft. Okay.
Oh, are you writing the red?
I'm sorry. Thank you. You want to do anything that begins with Microsoft or Oracle. Okay. So here we could just say, let's lose the digit. Microsoft passes.
Okay.
The OR is the pipe. It's right above your enter. That's the pipe there. Those are the pipelining if you're into PowerShell. Oracle.
Now, do I have to put another caret in?
Oh yeah, in this case. So if it begins, thank you, Lex. If it begins with Microsoft or Oracle. So here we got Microsoft, but we could also change it to Oracle, and it matches it. But if we put something like Adobe,
Obviously.
that's not gonna grab it, right?
Yeah.
So the OR is a great way of. You'll see us using the ORs, especially in Java 7. They changed it up in the name, how they showed the name, where we actually had to do the OR. It begins with Java, or it begins. I can't remember. You have to look at those.
Yeah.
Let's look at them.
So okay, so when
And while we're doing that,
when
if
you
there's
put
any-
that OR in, if you're going to do a beginning or an ending, you need to make sure you include that after the OR because it's going to evaluate it this or this beginning or ending or because you can mix and match, obviously.
Let's see. Now it's Java. Let's go to Java 7 32-bit. Yep, there's that red. We can expand this. Hopefully you can see that. Notice we're saying, that's right, Java 7 first became Java, and then it had a TM for a trademark in parentheses, or left after like 3 updates or something, and then it just went to Java. So here we're saying it begins with Java TM. Notice how we escaped those parentheses, or and then 7, and then the whole thing, and then we did, or it just begins with Java 7. So we had to kind of do 2 of them in there.
2 evaluations.
Java is a great example of a cheat sheet for variables. So once again, you can highlight, you can hover over the X, and it will expand that, or you can also just go to
variables and take a look.
Yeah, options, variables, and go to the system variables, and you'll see all of those there. You just scroll on down to RT for runtime Java, runtime name Java, and it's grayed out, a little hard to see, but you'll be able to actually see the regular expressions that we use.
And yeah, it is a great template to do things very similar. Like,
do we have any? I don't know if we have any questions.
Dear Shane and Lex, when should we use regular expressions instead of regularly intelligible text? Thanks, Monica H.
It really comes down to preference. Regular expressions, if you're, especially for people, other administrators that you work with, if you're using the central server, or people that come in after you move on. Regular expressions are a little bit more difficult to read. So somebody could come in and see this, Caret, Java, escape, parenthesis, TM, and like they might, if they don't know regular expressions, they're going to go, I have no idea what I'm looking at. So what I would say is, if you want to learn regular expressions, then force yourself to use some filters. However, there are times, like this case in Java or in Microsoft, where you need to use the negative lookaheads, that you're going to have to use regular expressions.
I always think of it like this. I heard that saying once: never use a large or a small word where a diminutive one will do. So again, regular expressions. I don't know if you guys watched. Was it last week or the week before? We were trying to do a regular expression. All we needed to do was, does not contain, And it was, Chris is just over there laughing.
Yeah, we, all 3 of us, overthought that to epic proportions.
I love it.
But seriously, when it comes down for me personally with regular expressions, it's if I have to match multiple patterns, and I can usually define that via a regular expression, that's my cue to use one.
Absolutely.
If I can do it without it, like a wildcard, fantastic. But if there's multiple patterns to match, I can define those via regular expressions.
Here's an example where to answer your question, Monica. So we're going to go over. I'm going to create a new report. Pardon me. I'm going to create a new report, and I'll show you where a regular expression would kind of help simplify things, even though that might seem like kind of a paradox there. Yeah. Make that a little center. There we go. Thanks, JJ. All right, so I'm gonna show you some, regex saves multiple filters.
Yeah.
All right. So remember how we let's go application name. We have a filter. Let's do a new group filter, and under this group filter, we'll say application name. And we'll just do a starts with Adobe, and then create a new group filter, and you can kind of see where I'm going, I think. Application name starts with, and then we'll do Microsoft. Starts with Microsoft. So here, you've had to create some complex filters, where we're saying the application name is either starts with Adobe or it starts with Microsoft. The reason you couldn't put these in the same group filter is because this evaluates each row in the in that applications table one at a time. So if you were to say it starts with Adobe and it starts with Microsoft, nothing is going to start with Adobe and Microsoft. They're mutually exclusive. They can't start with that. But you could just save all of this pane, move that up, create one filter, and say application name matches expression, and it starts with Adobe, or remember that's the pipe, Caret, Microsoft. So in this case, and hopefully that We don't have any.
Grab a collection
Change
source.
collection source and just go on up to all computers. There we go.
So one line instead of 2 lines for that filter.
One
Significantly
line.
simpler.
You gotta get to pick your pain. There are times here, and this will evaluate much faster than creating multiple filters. But it's kind of pick your pain.
Yep. So Hanks, before I came in, he sent me this little IM and said, and I'm going to paraphrase. So Hanks, you may have to pop that into the chat, but it basically was, I can fix that with regular expressions, that issue. Now I've got 2 problems.
Now I got yes. I like that. We have another question.
I have a question. Is it pronounced regex or regex?
You know what? That's a very good one because obviously it's regular expression,
Right.
but you'll hear it regex.
Yeah.
I hear that a lot, so I just actually do regex. But
To this, I throw in the argument of GIF versus GIF.
yeah.
So-
I don't even go into that.
Yeah.
Tomato,
We do have a real question, not just my ramblings.
Yeah. Well, it's just like when I first got into Unix and I saw what looked like daemon. This is back in the 90s, and I'm like, oh, so it's a daemon, and I was quickly, even though it was DAEMON, I was quickly corrected by all the Linux and Unix admins. It's daemon. It's daemon.
It's Damon.
Oh, okay. Rock on.
Dear Shane and Lex, I'm creating a report for out-of-date BIOS based on multiple collections. How can I combine all of the collections into one filter in the report versus listing them separately? Sincerely, David R.
So you're probably going to, without seeing an example, David, and hello, by the way, if you are going to try to combine those filters, you are going to need to use that OR, that pipe. And then you would write out your filter, your regular expression, and then an OR, and then the same regular, a similar regular expression or whatever you're looking for. That's how you can do it. It's the OR, really. And then that can be very long and unreadable, but it will also save you having to do multiple filters.
That is true. Do you have any other questions?
No other questions. People
Wow.
are just like, yeah, regular expressions. I don't.
It's tough stuff.
I either I have it dialed in or I don't care.
Or I've given up already.
They don't use them regularly.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, cut his mic off. Don't let him talk anymore.
So remember, let me just say that. So once again, use the OR. Use your /Ds if you want to look at digits.
Yep.
Dash lowercase w is if you want to look for a character that's not a digit. It's going to be A through Z effectively. So that's a /W.
And again,
that.
the websites that we put in the bonus content, I have to print this out, guys. I got 4 pages of characters and logic and the whole bit because, again, it takes a little bit to get back into it. It's like, speaking a foreign language, and Chris is over there going, ooh, ooh.
Yeah, I have a funny little way to remember the look-aheads and look-behinds.
Okay.
So they all have the question mark, right? And whether or not it is a look-behind or look-ahead, it has the less than symbol, right?
Yeah.
And so I always picture that it's going behind the question mark for a look-behind. And then the way I remember negative or positive is if it's a negative, the way you express negative in math is just a one line, the hyphen, the dash, And so I imagine that the exclamation mark is that dash, and then you would express positive with a plus symbol. Well, the equal sign in this case, you could rearrange those to form a plus sign. And this is actually how I have remembered them for years.
I like Lex's. It all ends with cash. So what he's talking about, remember we did a negative look ahead, right? And that was, if you look at the Microsoft Office, it was Microsoft Office, and then we did we did this, because we grouped them. So then we did a negative, so that was a question mark
and a bang.
and a bang. That was the negative look ahead, as Chris is talking about. If you want to go backwards, that's the less than. And think of it, it's pointing that way. Where this would say is, it contains Microsoft Office, but let's see, but it must somewhere before Microsoft Office contain. There's the equals, or if it can't contain, it's the exclamation point. Somewhere before Microsoft Office, it would have to say. In this case, you're matching it has to contain Lex. Okay, so somewhere before Microsoft Office, it would have to contain Lex. And
That's the Office that types for you because
Or-
I can't type.
there's the exclamation point.
Yeah.
And that means it can't contain Lex somewhere before. That's what's known as a negative look behind and
yeah.
versus look ahead. Now, you won't be able to test that, the look behinds in your regex tester, because this is actually kind of based off of JavaScript. So if you try to do, Lex, let's see if I can remember this. Lex is the question mark negative look behind. JavaScript won't be able to. You might have a problem with this one. You might have a problem. I've just seen that some limitations where they're like, no, we'll do a look ahead, but not a look behind. So this online
Depends on the engine that's evaluating it.
yeah, this tester will only work so far.
Yeah.
But it's a good starting point. Anyway, yes. Once again, there's so much power there. Chris, did you want to throw anything in for PowerShell?
Well, PowerShell, so there's a lot that it can do that we probably don't have time for because I could probably go off on a tangent, but please hit me up and I'm happy to help you through it because I use this all the time. If you download the uninstallation for any of our Microsoft Office product packages that we have in the package library, there's 4 different regular expressions that I have in those that I use. Great examples to actually see what I'm doing. I can help break that down for you. Happy to. But there's just so much you can do with this. In fact, before this webcast, one of the fun things I was playing around with was with our new WMI scanner, you can query the event logs of a given target machine. For in this case, I queried the application log over a date range, and I looked for when a particular set of applications, if they had been installed in the last 30 days. And I can do that, and you can create a inventory collection with that filter to look just for that entry that you scanned with the WMI scanner. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, woohoo!
I do want to call out, Lex had mentioned this, like with looking for versions. Yeah, versions are great. If some of the old Oracle versions would have the number and then a couple of words. Regular expression is great there because once they throw those non-numerics in there, it throws any comparisons out the window. So in those cases, if you're just talking about numbers delimited by dots or commas, do not use, we definitely recommend that you don't use regular expressions or anything other than
Version evaluation that we have.
yes.
Absolutely.
So anytime that like application version, so we would recommend that you just seriously use anything that begins with version. And those will cover almost everything.
And it makes it much more simpler anyways.
And be careful, some gotchas are you might be doing a matches, thinking you're doing a matches expression, but you've actually got a matches pattern, and you're like, nothing is being caught. Matches pattern is different. That only uses wildcards. Splat is, anything. And then question mark is just one. Yep. So keep that in mind. Oh, really quick, if you can throw this. Remember Adobe Reader and Adobe Acrobat, they came out with DC, Adobe Reader DC, and the only way to determine whether you were running the document, the DC continuous version or the DC classic version was you had to look at the third position. Let me just do an Adobe here.
That's right, the third position.
The third position, yeah. Adobe Reader, here we go. So here's Adobe Reader DC. This is the continuous version, and basically what we're looking at. I'll just open this up. Actually, I'll just do this. So look at Guinness. Guinness has an old version of DC. Right there, that third position, 17.012.20. If it begins with a 2.0, that means it's continuous. If it begins with 3.0, it means it is classic. So you go back to our regex tester, throw that string in there, and how you would grab that in a regular expression is to say slash. You could do it begins with a digit, but the first two. There's the first 2 digits, then a dot, and then just do a dot plus, and then a dot 2.0, and if you see that would match. That would say, oh yeah, this is Document Cloud, versus 3.0, This is the classic version. Notice this won't capture unless you do that. So that's a way of simply creating a filter that says, hey, if this regular expression matches this, then I know that the DC that I'm dealing with is the classic version. It's not updated as often versus the continuous.
Yep.
All right. Hopefully that helps.
So-
Use regular expressions. Force yourself. Get out of your comfort zone, because there will be times when a matches pattern won't work. There'll be times that greater than or contains or starts with. You're going to need to use regular expressions. So just kind of force yourself to do it.
It's powerful. You love it.
All right. Hey, PDQ signing out. We'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks for joining our webcast today. Congratulations, Monica H. and David R., winners of PDQ T-shirts. Also, Patrick H., winner of Lex's signed shirt and his LASIK glasses. Send us your info at webcast@pdq.com. Also, if you're interested in purchasing a PDQ T-shirt, you can send us your request to webcast@pdq.com, and we'll respond with purchase information. Also, remember, we are hiring. We have positions available for a PDQ product expert engineer, web front-end engineer, and a scripting and automation professional. You can find that on our website at pdq.com/jobs. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you back here next week.